Well, welcome back, you silly little surface dwellers, to our vault and our teeny tiny city on the outsides of our vault. Today, my friends, we are going to be doing some pretty big things here with our vault as well as our teeny tiny city, so buckle up, Buttercup. A good portion of today was going to be us creating a Deathclaw army, but these things take forever to lay any eggs, so I guess that'll be next episode. Or maybe some of this episode. Anyway, let's build something. In our little small town and or city of Sunny Sands, we are going to be expanding the wall to the north, knocking out the current section that we have, and just adding in enough so that we can add quite a bit more to the city. And in this particular instance and part of the city, we're actually going to be adding in some individual housing that we plan on renting out. Now, initially, I had planned on renting these out to tenants, people who would be willing to pay us a little bit of a sum every few days, that sort of thing, instead of just like for a night or two like we do with our hotel. I ended up changing my mind a bit later, but I might change it again in the future, just depending on pricing, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. But as you can see, these new homes are completely finished and furnished with the finest of pre-war scrap furniture. No doubt, whoever ends up renting these for however long, they'll be quite tickled to have a safe place to lay their weary head for the night. Now all we need is a proper message board. This way we can start paying for some advertising with the local courier service. This way we can get our ads out into the wasteland and we can start getting some paying customers. It'll be a couple days before they roam back through the area, so I guess until then we have more work to do. Now initially there you heard me talking about possibly renting out those homes to tenants instead of like clientele who are going to only be staying for a night or two, and I was talking about pricing. Well, as you can see here, we're actually mining out some proper new rooms here under the mountain for the vault, and as mentioned before, we planned on actually renting those out as well. Now, my initial idea was to rent out some homes in our city to people, and then we would start filling up the vault with people who are paying more money. But the thing is, they ended up paying the most amount of money possible right from the get-go, and so these rooms that you're seeing right now would end up being filled up first, surprisingly. You know what though, that is my fault, because I didn't take into account the fact of just how many people who had enough money would be dying to get inside these vaults for a much safer and much better life with us. And these 8 brand new vault rooms, luxury vault rooms I might add, are going to be absolutely perfect for that. We had finished them just in time as well, it would seem, as a few days later, late into the night, we had a courier coming to the town to go about taking our advertisements out into the waste. After we paid him a small sum, of course, they do require a little bit of a fee. Not to worry though, it will be more than worth it once we have a few tenants. Now then, while we're waiting on these tenants though, we are also going to be working on some new research, in this particular case, basic robotics, as some automatons and androids and other things like that would make life here in the vault ever so much easier, not only for our clients that are going to be coming here, but also for ourselves. And thanks to the great mind of Bolin the Overseer, as well as many of our other vault dwellers, it should come as no surprise we easily finished up this prerequisite tech, and we were quickly moving on to Tier 1 androids, the most basic of all the automatons, although they can still do many a task, and even defend us if need be, but they're not very good at it, so either way though, as we begin working on this research, we ended up getting contacted by the NCR. They were requesting to send some nuclear waste or toxic packs, something like that, into our area, but in exchange, they would give us 192 plasteel and 58 gold. I didn't care what these waste packs were. Go ahead and send them, Chief. We'll take them. And so, of course, they would. But first and foremost, we got our reward. This gold is going to be perfect for luxury furniture, and this plasteel for reactors. Basically anything Vault Tech security gear, so on and so forth, yada yada. The toxic waste packs, on the other hand, not not exactly useful. Now, we ended up just chucking these into one of the toxic rivers nearby. Technically, we could freeze them and keep them from exploding and causing an insectoid hive to form, but we kind of fight Deathclaws in this area. I don't really give a shit, right? Eventually, the Deathclaws of the area will probably just hunt the bugs anyways, taking care of that problem for us. And if they don't, we'll have some spillipede burgers. Anyhow, though, we ended up receiving word from the NCR as well about a nearby item stash just a few clicks down the road. This would be the perfect opportunity to send John out on a bit of an expedition, leading a team, of course. We weren't just going to send him out there by himself, as he would probably never return. We would allow John to handpick the team himself, and then they were off, packing plenty of meals and heading down that way. Though the journey is going to take a little while, so we'll check back in on them in a moment. In the meantime, while they're traveling, I wanted to work on our defenses a bit more on the inside of our wall, especially where we expanded, getting rid of the old shabby scrap turrets that we have been using and putting those on the inside of the town. That way we're not wasting them completely and just kind of giving them a bit of an upgrade with some proper mini turrets for the time being until we have something a bit stronger. It was also during this time we finished up our research into Tier 1 androids, now allowing us to go about creating our own automatons. Very basic ones, as mentioned before, but currently we don't really have a proper place to go about doing this other than our workshop, which is currently feeling a little bit crowded at the moment, and since there are many different research projects and different types of production areas that will need to go about creating many different types of androids, I thought that we might just go ahead and mine out its own workshop. But as we were mining this out, the caravan of John and Pan and the others would finally arrive at the item stash. From a distance, we couldn't see any structures in the area. We were perplexed. Where was this item stash? Well, after a bit of exploration, we eventually found a pretty well-defended section here. And it appears that this is yet another vault, similar to our own. Not built by our hands though, obviously, and we had never even heard of a vault in the area. Perhaps this was some type of secret one. Only one way to find out what's going on in here. Thanks to Boland providing us with his Pip-Boy, for a bit of a stat boost we could easily enter the vault without having to tear the door or the walls apart. We entered the entrance area and we would spot a few wooden signs. The place was a little bit dirty and shabby, but it appeared to be vacant. It appeared that way. As we could tell outside, there were definitely some barricades, so it may be vacant now or it may not, but at one point it definitely was not. After searching the entire place, we ended up finding a few of its residents, though I don't think these are vault dwellers. Possibly raiders, or possibly some scavengers. Either way, they appear to be fresh kills. And whoever killed them didn't do it for their possessions, as their grenades and other weaponry were just lying about. We would have loved to have checked the vault security cameras for more information, but as you can see, there isn't any power, and probably hasn't been for quite some time. We ended up finding a small security door in the hallway. It looks like this was a mining operation. I have a feeling that this vault was never actually completed. John would lead us into this room, and as he cracked the doors wide open, gunfire sprang out from all areas. It was the jolly green menace known as super mutants, and quite a few of them as well. As we were chucking grenades down into this crevice to hopefully turn them into green mincemeat, they were returning fire, and even managing to hit a few of us. John in particular. He would rush to cover to start tending to his wound, but it was much worse than we initially thought. His entire right arm had been shot off. A blast from a pipe shotgun barely missing Pan's head and hitting John right in the arm, tearing it off. As John was attempting to not bleed out, we were continuing our explosive revenge, killing one of the super mutants, and the most cowardly lion of them all would attempt to flee, but as you can see, that didn't exactly work out for him, I'm afraid. It would seem even at the great cost of one of John's limbs, we have won this fight though, and with that we'd be able to search the area for some more treasure. The items that were promised in the area appear to have been a doomsday rocket launcher, a different type of rifle, and some advanced components. Was it worth losing an arm over? Not exactly, but we might as well take them now as we've already lost it. After quickly packing up everything that we wanted to take back home with us, including a Vault-Tec terminal and a few other things, we would end up starting on our way back on the road. But there's no rest for the wicked, as they say, and on our way back we would end up getting ambushed by what appears to be a small group of raiders. Nothing we hadn't seen 100 times over, but these fellows and fellowettes appeared to be wielding some handcrafted weaponry instead of pipe weaponry, so we'll need to be a little bit more cautious, I suppose. Though giving them as much credit as we could there, they were easily defeated by our laser weaponry, hitting the ground shortly thereafter, and it would seem that their new handmade weapons are going to be ours. And one of them, going by the name of O'Neill, had a crazy good plant skill, so we thought that it might be nice to have a new gardener under the mountain with us, especially since she was not unwaveringly loyal. These raiders rarely ever are. They're always looking for the next best way to get a meal. But what really sealed the deal for us was the fact that she was also trained to use power armor. Now that's a trait that you can't just get anywhere. That takes some real experience. Alright, little lady, that's it. You're coming home with us. Don't resist. You're being rescued. Oh, yep, she's crawling away. Not to worry though, because we slung her over the shoulder of our sentient Deathclaw, and a few days later we would arrive back home, sweet home. We would end up unloading all of our inventories, including the new items that we got from the vault, and we went to the overseer to tell him about our findings. We also dropped our prisoner, I mean our new friend, off into her new dwelling for the time being until we can get her brainwashed and or rehabilitated. These raiders are all the same. They take a few weeks at the very least before they stop trying to stab you in the neck with the chicken bone that they had for dinner. It's a whole thing. Now that everyone's home, safe and sound though, we can finally finish up our little android workshop here, prepping 2 pods for 2 androids to charge in while we're at it, and the overseer would waste absolutely no time finishing up our very first automaton by the name of William. Okay, anyhow though, this little fellow is going to be absolutely perfect for well, actually, he's not very good at, well, anything, as you can see, skill-wise that is, but we mostly just need him for some mindless tasks anyways, like hauling and also sending him into the Deathclaw pit to go about cleaning their room, especially when they're hungry, as they probably won't eat him. Probably. A few hours later into the night, and we had our very first person from the wasteland looking to request tenancy inside the vault. Now this is where I was getting at earlier with them offering a lot of money. She is willing to pay 75 silver per day. That is a lot of money, and as to why I am going to be letting her stay in the vault, of course we're going to screen her first though and ensure that she's going to be a proper match for the vault. We don't want anyone coming in here and, you know, assassinating one of our own or anything. We would allow her to go ahead and equip a vault suit first and foremost, which probably wasn't a good idea because that's the same place as the armory. We know for next time not to do that. Nevertheless though, she would sit down with the overseer and the screening process would begin. Now this can take a little bit of time, so in the meantime, while she's getting asked the hard questions, we're going to start prepping our humble abodes out here in the outer town for people to rent out during the night by also placing some wood-fired heaters in here to keep them nice and snuggly warm since winter is on the horizon. Now these are going to be $50 a night as well, and that might seem a little bit steep, but I would presume these of course are going to be part of the hotel, essentially owned by the hotel as their property, so if people want the privacy of their own home for a little while, they're gonna have to pay a little extra. And you know what? If they don't like it, they can sleep out on the ground, or they can also pay us 10 buckaroos to sleep out in one of our waste leather tents instead. You know, either way of course. But as we were welcoming a new paid vault dweller into our loving arms, I noticed a bit of an issue. It would seem that our Deathclaw 4, is wandering around in confusion. This was caused by Alzheimer's, and as you can see, this poor battered beast has quite a scratch on its left eye. It's not all that often that Deathclaws end up living for this long. Now, they have no natural predators, except for each other. But as we were tending to Deathclaw 4's needs, I also noticed that the egg box in the room was filled up to the brim with 3 great big eggs. Looks like we're gonna be Deathclaw mommies and daddies very soon. This also reminded me that last episode I asked you fine folks for some names for our Deathclaws, and you happily obliged me, which I very much appreciate, and I have chosen the following names. We now have Princess, Fluffy, Clawsworth, and Frank. These suggestions are provided by our good friends J. Dix Official, 6-Wing Zombie, Jaws 12413, and Lockwone01. And of course, I want to thank everyone for providing name suggestions, and just remember, if you weren't chosen this time, we have plenty more Deathclaws that we're going to be birthing soon. So remember, if you want me to see a name suggestion, continue commenting on the videos, and I will continue checking for them. I love you. Thank you. Now then, moving right along, we are beginning on yet another research project, with that being Sure Power Geothermal Generators. Now, this is a pre-war company with designs from, well, before the war, as one might guess. Not exactly in line with Vault Tech in particular, but close enough, right? In the meantime, while we're working on this research, we're also sending out a trade caravan to the nearby NCR base, as we end up doing at least once per episode, it would seem, to do a bit of trading with him once more. We ended up selling them plenty of fuel in exchange for components, advanced components, and even a little bit of medicine, as well as a special prosthetic for a very special someone. Yes, indeed, you guessed it, we ended up getting a prosthetic arm for John, since he lost his to those super mutants. But this wasn't just any prosthetic arm, it was a bionic field arm. This is actually pre-war tech that was designed for the Mr. Handies that would work out on farms, but nevertheless, it should work on John. Hopefully. Darcy performed the operation, and indeed, it would seem that the arm has taken to John quite nicely. Here's hoping for no infections, and that it actually moves after he wakes up. We'll see. With a successful operation under our belt, though, it's time that we started another little mining project here for the vault itself. This is actually going to be a fermentation and growing room. We need a place that we can actually use to produce alcohol, like beers and things of that sort, so that we can keep our bar nice and stocked. But I think we're also maybe going to open one up on the inside of the vault at some point as well, so we need enough for all of that. And we're also going to be growing some smoke leaf in here as well, which was also a great suggestion from our friend Lockwone01, who was talking about this along with naming a Deathclaw earlier on in the video, and they were saying that we should go about selling a few of these not so hard drugs like smoke leaf instead of something like jet. I think this is going to be perfect. After we set that up, we also finished our research into Sure Power Geothermal Generators, and we immediately started working on one of those just outside the city walls. And that is also why you see we had to use some granite walls to insulate it from raiders and what have you. We did have a much closer one that was kind of inside the city. I kind of also built our walls on top of it, but I didn't feel like dealing with it. So this is what we have. And with this geothermal power generator, we can also get rid of the old wood-fired and chem fuel-fired generators on the inside of the vault, meaning we can now just store chem fuel and also sell more of it because of this without having any power outages. I also wanted to mention that we have been working diligently on feeding our Deathclaws. As one might imagine, these great big beasts require a lot of food, and we have been feeding them corpses, which is a gigantic waste because we could be cutting up those corpses, mixing them with some vegetables, that way the Deathclaws get their nutrients they need, and then feeding it to them as kibble, which is what we're now doing. I should specify that I'm only doing this with animal corpses as well, not humanoid corpses. I don't need everyone under the sun losing their damn mind because they think we've become cannibals. Oh, we also built some rugs to make everyone happy, by the way. Oh, and in our recreation room, we ended up building a sun lamp, which is something that I've been meaning to put in since its conception, ever since our good friend Borland8513 suggested it, which makes sense. We want them to get some proper sunlight since there's a mural of the outside world, just in case people start getting stir crazy under here. We also finally had our Deathclaw eggs ready to hatch. Congratulations. We're mommies and daddies now. These beautiful little babies sure were hungry. They ran straight to the kibble and started lapping it up. Aw, hey there, you little murderous critters. We're gonna be your new best friends and masters, and we are going to slaughter a lot, and I do mean a lot, of people together. Don't forget, folks, if you have names for these little babies, though, be sure to leave them in the comment section down below, and we will be naming them next episode. I'm thinking by next episode we'll probably end up having about 6 or so, counting these 3 new ones that just hatched, as we currently have another Deathclaw about to lay eggs. Anywho, though, it's finally time for us to harvest up our hops as well as our smoke leaf that we've been growing for a little bit of time here in our new growing and fermenting area. First things first, the bar has been struggling to get alcohol, except for the alcohol that we've been buying, which is no bueno in terms of our finances. So we're going to be brewing up some wort, and we are going to be putting that in a fermenting barrel. Then it's time for us to roll up some fat blunts to stock the shelves of our little clinic kind of building here, our pharmacy, whatever we're going to call it, to sell. As we were working on producing more products, we also finally ended up recruiting O'Neill into our ranks, and we would immediately send her into the armory to equip a proper vault suit as well as some weapons that she's most comfortable with. Surprising to no one, though she ended up strapping a laser rifle to her back, she went for her very own handmade rifle that we had confiscated from her earlier, you know, when she tried to kill us with it, but it's good to see that she has it again. And let's not forget the fact that she is power armor trained. Now, the fact that she is trained in power armor does mean that she holds some idea of how to train the rest of us. Though it's not incredibly simple, as we do need a proper simulation area so that we could go about training inside this pod, I suppose. Not really sure on the directions. It's a little fuzzy the way she explained it, but we built one, and I think we're going to attempt to start training people ASAP. And while we're putting the finishing touches on all of that, we're also going to start working on a multi-analyzer for our next research, going up to fabrication through recon and into marine armor eventually. The reason for that is because marine armor specifically is the research that we need to create our very own proper power armor. Keep in mind, though, we do still have the research to go about making raider power armor. It just kind of sucks ass in comparison, but because at the moment that is the only type of power armor that we're capable of creating, we would have Shorty and Compton begin working on some. Well, you might be asking yourself, Rat Daddy, who is going to wear this power armor? And to that I say, were you not paying attention the last like 3 minutes of the video? Of course it's going to be O'Neill. Even if we manage to train some of our other folks with power armor, none of them are going to have the wit, know-how, or experience like O'Neill does with it. She's probably pretty darn experienced with raider power armor in particular, since, well, she was a raider. After our little excursion into the unfinished vault this episode where John lost his arm, I think he could use some proper backup. Someone who is large enough to block bullets without getting killed, stopping those bullets from taking off any more limbs, and that's going to be O'Neill. In the meantime, we had another courier coming to pick up yet another of our advertisements, and it wouldn't be long at all before we had yet another fine person ready to join the vault dwellers, paying again 75 silver per day. This time around, I was also careful to make sure that I only let her into the armory after the screening was completed, which she passed with flying colors, and then she would go in and equip a vault suit. Madam, it is with great honor that I would like to officially welcome you to the underground city paradise where dreams really do come true. With such a growing population, we also need to make sure we have enough androids to keep the place cleaned and to keep things hauled, so Boland immediately started working on yet another, and this time around, my friends, I introduce to you the tier 1 android known as Kyle the android, along with William. The two of them are the dynamic cleaning duo of mechanical something. If you guys have some names for both of these little fellows, be sure to leave those in the comment section as well, as, well, I've got nothing witty or anything like that to name them, and I'm sure you guys have some amazing, as a matter of fact, I know you do, some amazing names as always. Anywho, it would appear that we're getting a prisoner exchange caravan from the NCR before the episode ends, as is becoming something of a ritual by this point. We, of course, would end up trading with with him, and we ended up purchasing two folks their freedom. These couple of lawbreakers were going by the name of Brooks and Hewitt, and they seemed pretty excited to join us here. I suppose anything beats shackles and chains, huh? Brooks was rather proficient with melee and shooting, as well as social for the most part, so a charismatic fighter, exactly what the doctor ordered. And it would seem that Hewitt is going to be helping out in the Vault's kitchens, and is quite charismatic herself, but her main job shall be as our lead surgeon. Look at that medical skill. We sent them into the armory for Vault suits, weapons, and yada yada yada, like we do with everyone else, and the two of them were looking right as rain. Welcome aboard, folks. I must say that our relationship with the NCR is absolutely fabulous. Not only do we just do normal trading, selling them our chem fuel and what have you, but they are single-handedly basically populating this entire vault with their prisoners, where most would probably see an entire vault populated with prisoners as dangerous and probably not a good idea. I see a chance for redemption and opportunity for some really, really great things. But until next time, I'll see you later. Hello, I just want to pop at the end of the video and say thank you. Thank you ever so much for watching today's episode. Per the usual, I really appreciate you and I love you. I also want to take a minute and just glaze you guys a bit and say thank you for all your suggestions lately. I fear that people will become a little upset with me that I'm not using suggestions all the time, though you guys are great and I know that you probably understand. I just want to say that I do check them all. It's just I can't always fit them all into the videos, right? Or I can't always use them, but you guys always with your name suggestions, mod suggestions, what we should do in the series, what we should build, all that stuff is just amazing, and it really makes the series special and really fun, not only for me, but for everyone who watches these episodes and everyone else in the community. So give yourselves a little pat on the back, as they say. I just wanted to thank you guys though, and you guys are awesome. I love you, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.